about my flaws and weaknesses. Watch you love so hard and then just throw it away. You opened up my heart and just to close it on me. Don't blame it on me. Because you said your parents never gave you hugs, and as a child you were never loved. You made me love so hard, but then you threw it away. You love to open skies, and then you blame it on me. You're someone I could never be with. You joke about my flaws and weaknesses. Standing in the cold, cold rain, I don't even feel the pain. Anything to step away. I know we could both do better. Wish you would've left me here. Now I'm just controlled by fear. What's the point in our reflection if you never look in the mirror? Counting the days until you're gone, waiting for us to carry on. Oh, I'm running, what am I running from? Time's going by, but where's the time going? I tried to give you everything. You took it all and took it for granted. If you're still falling out of love, maybe it's 'cause it's not enough. Setting fire to my brain, wondering how I'm to blame. You're the one who doesn't dream, so why are you always sleeping? I remember when you said you're afraid of what's ahead. What happened to ride or die? I asked and you just start crying. How are you acting so surprised? Haven't you seen it in my eyes? Oh, I'm running, what am I running from? Time's going by, but where's the time going? I tried to give you everything. You took it all and took it for granted. If you're still falling out of love, maybe it's 'cause I'm not enough.
myself in the room, just my six and myself, yeah. It's getting hard and I think I'm doomed, 'cause everyone left, 'cause everyone left, 'cause everyone left.
You can see straight through my life. Oh, there's something in my chest that I can't hide. When feelings get involved, I'm terrified. 'Cause I've been here before and said goodbye. Oh, are you the one when I try to look, I wish I'd find? Oh, how can I love when I've been hurt 100 times? For you I give it one more try. Turn away and wrestle with my doubts. Oh, I leave them all behind, but don't know how. Bury my head deep within the crowd, but I'm reaching for your hand to pull me out. Are you the one when I try to look, I wish I'd find? Oh, how can I love when I've been hurt 100 times? It's so hard to open my eyes. I'm blind to the light from the sky. I'm dealing with things I can't write. And all of you know it's been no easy road. But I keep working harder, going harder just to prove something. Burning out, I can't do shit for weeks. Guess I proved nothing. Everybody wants my work for free. I know you have the money, things are looking different. I'm not putting up with you, not anymore. And I know you think you still can take advantage, and you always took my humbleness for granted. But I know my worth, you can't take that away from me. And I know you think you still can take advantage, but it hasn't worked out like you fucking planned it. 'Cause I know my worth, you can't take that away from me. Lost myself, now I'm fully disguised. My heart got bruised up, so I put it on ice. Been told that I wouldn't make it in this life, but now all of you see there's so much room for me. And I know you think I still can take advantage, and you always took my humbleness for granted. But I know my worth, you can't take that away from me. And I know you think you still can take advantage, but it hasn't worked out like you fucking planned it. 'Cause I know my worth, you can't take that away from me.
Dude, it's all good. I feel refreshed, man. You know, water breaks are so necessary.
How about you give us an introduction and tell us what we have to look forward to today?
Dude, if you were a fruit, what fruit would you be?
A banana? All right, so Douglas, if you could relate yourself or your project, whichever one you want to go with, to a fruit, which fruit would it be and why?
Okay, I'll go with the eagle first and banana.
Why banana, bro?
Because every time I speak with H1, it feels like I'm peeling one more piece of that banana, and it keeps getting better and better.
That sounds so
The
wrong.
project is awesome. So every time you think you know it, you know everything about it, it just surprises you.
You're the kind of guy. You're the kind of guy that if you were sat in the same room, you'd be eating a banana and maintaining aggressive eye contact. That's the kind of
Forcing the entire thing into his mouth at once.
Yeah.
I think the thing that we'll focus on this week is making sure that you stretch.
I don't know. I reckon a coconut, a green one.
a green coconut. Okay, we've had coconut before, but not a green one. Why?
I don't know, you got to go through the hard stuff before you can get to the good stuff. So
Yeah, thanks for asking. I think I would say probably a mango is like a fruit that you think is like pretty good, but when you actually bite into it, you're like, oh, this is delicious and amazing. Because like I'm all about trying to make things fun, make things enjoyable, and maybe a little bit surprising. Like, you know, your own mentality can make such a big difference in your life, your positivity and stuff. And I really, really enjoy being in spaces with all the people here, the other spaces that I've been in, and learning from everybody. So I get really excited, and I hope other people do too.
Hello everybody and welcome to the Crypto Lamb Show. I hope you're all doing well. I'm just going to sort out the Discord and get everybody in there. Where are we? There we go. Make that full screen and put it in focus. There we go. That's where
I usually get miserable on those Fridays.
Hello everybody. Welcome to the show. How are you doing?
Well, we would be fantastic on like a 10 out of 10 if Keith could hear us.
Yeah. If you can, if you can hear us, but we can't hear you. So there's a cogwheel at the bottom left-hand corner. If you click on that and go to audio and video, you'll be able to select the input-output from that.
Or I just click the mic button.
Or just do that. Yeah, that works too. So for those, indeed. So we've got Fizz Priest and Sir Rugless with us today, and of course Keith Waring from Keith's Crypto Trades. So yeah, rather than because I know Keith's story, obviously. For those who don't know, Keith's my brother-in-law, and he's one that really kind of got me started in all of this crypto stuff. So you know, rather than me telling your story, Keith, tell everybody who you are, dude.
Yeah, sorry, 1 second, dude. I'm just pushing out the link into my chat quickly, or into my broadcast group.
Yeah, no problem at all.
Right. Yeah, there we go. Live. So, my name's Keith Waring, for those that don't know. I am a retired, sort of retired entrepreneur. My background is in business, was recruitment. And I lost everything in the 2009 recession. And I moved to Spain in 2011 after losing quite literally everything. And I set up a software company, a trading software company. Used to make trading software, as you know, because you work for me, Andy. And that kind of led me into trading crypto. I then had quite a popular YouTube channel just called Keith Waring back in kind of 2017, 2018 in the last bull run, my first bull run, should I say. Where I managed to get up to like 50,000 followers, just kind of talking about crypto. Did things really wrong on that channel. I was taking paid shills left, right, and center because I thought, wow, this is amazing. I'm being paid a Bitcoin to talk about all these amazing new projects. Then the bear market hit of 2018, 2019. Another humbling experience for me. And I took a little bit of a break after that. I mean, just to kind of really give you the picture, I struggled with addiction for a long time. Since I was, I don't know, 14, I guess, up until the age of like 34 when I had a heart attack in my office, and a girl that you and I used to work with, Andy, Amelia, found me, said I had to go to hospital, and after that went to rehab. Kind of really changed everything, the way I look at things. Well, started to change the way I look at things. Really enjoyed being in crypto. Before I knew it, I was writing the weekly TA for Cointelegraph. I still to this day don't even know how that happened. I just remember getting an email one day after I just got back off a blockchain cruise. And they're like, hey, dude, do you want to do like a weekly piece or a bi-weekly piece in Cointelegraph for the TA? And I was like, really? Me? Okay, that's cool. Called the drop to the COVID drop to 3,800. I said, yeah, I do see 4K on the charts that like 4 days before it happened. And obviously then it happened. So that's kind of my crypto kind of background. Had a few trading products, launched a cryptocurrency called Mooncunt for a laugh once. It made me a trillionaire by market cap for a little while. So it's nice being the world's first trillionaire, thanks to cunt. That's, excuse the language, by the way. Then I kind of during COVID had a mystical experience on ayahuasca, which completely transformed my life. And now here I am on your stream. But I think one thing quite important to say is, this experience that I had, I do well in life, in financially, so to speak. And, after realizing all my life dreams of, having £500,000 worth of cars, boat, luxury properties in Spain, and more than enough money to live the rest of my days doing out whatever I want, I realized that I'd been pursuing money my entire life. And once I got it, it didn't make a shit of difference, which was really, really quite interesting. I'd say probably the more money you have, the more miserable you are. Now I'm on a higher path, if you want to say, if I can say that without coming across as arrogant. That's kind of that's my little intro for those of you that don't know me. And
Keith, thank you for sharing, man. Was that the first time when you experimented with ayahuasca? Was that the first time you had tripped?
No. So it was a really interesting experience. So there was this guy that was in one of my trading groups that I ran with Andy for a few years. It was the most successful trader in the group, a chap called Ben, and he actually lives with me now. He lives in a tent at the end of my garden. He's like my little garden gnome, garden cunt. We were chatting one day on Telegram, and he said, we're talking about all the conspiracies in COVID, right? And he was like, man, one day I would love to hit some DMT with you in a field. And I was like, oh no, dude, I don't do drugs. I'm a recovering addict. I used to have a bit of a cocaine problem. He's like, no. Do you not know about DMT? And I'm like, I don't really watch Joe Rogan or anything like that, or didn't watch Joe Rogan or anything like that. So I was completely blissfully unaware that DMT had anything to do with ayahuasca. But that one conversation that we had, it sent me on this path to just really learn a lot about it. I'm actually sitting next to a box of it right now. Would you like to see it? Yeah.
Yes.
I've actually got a whole box of the stuff. Oh, there's some toilet roll in here. That means I've been masturbating at my computer again. Damn. Don't even remember knocking that one out. So I self-cook. I've never been to a retreat, despite all the advice. So we got some seeds of herbs of the gods. So I got here. This is the Banistriopsis capi, this is the MAO inhibitor, which you mix obviously with the Chakaruna, the Psychotria vidris. So I started experimenting with this. I bought this from Amsterdam, just a normal mail order site, nothing dark web illegal, just a dude buying some plant clippings, and look.
We seem to have lost Keith there. He's coming.
You got to the good stuff. That's the issue.
I think I just had like a little bit of a power blip. Am I back?
Yeah, I think they're on to you, Keith. That's the problem.
Video yet.
I'm right. I've totally lost whether my camera's on or anything.
No, your camera is currently off, but we can hear you perfectly fine, dude.
Okay, cool. So there we go. All right, sorry about that. Let me just move Discord over to where the camera is. So I started cooking it. I used 3 packets of each because I got, I like to think I've quite a high tolerance for psychedelics and whatnot. And boy, did I get a shock. So it took me a long time to cook it. The first day, it probably took me like 12 hours to I was being very careful not to boil it down, make sure that I simmered it only, because if you boil it, you kill the DMT. And for those of you that haven't taken ayahuasca or understand the makeup of it, I mean, the 2 packets that are just held up, one is a plant that's full of DMT, which is dimethyltryptamine, which is what gives you kind of like the trippy experience. The other one's like a MAO inhibitor. So this is an inhibitor that essentially lines your stomach so that your body, the enzymes in your stomach don't absorb the DMT, therefore you can't feel the effects. So I had to follow the instructions pretty carefully. And the first day I tried it, I had a pretty heavy experience. It was really trippy. I remember thinking, I fucked up. I've taken too much. And I was watching my fireplace and it was doing all sorts of mad stuff. And I kept going to a place I knew. I don't know whether astral projection is the right terminology, because I don't really understand what it was that was happening. But there's a place just up the road from me, opposite the Mediterranean Sea. I kept going to this one place that I'd been a few days beforehand, and I kept going there and I was having conversations with people that I knew. And I could see this area quite vividly. It was like a yellow kind of haze or yellow filter to everything I was seeing. I thought, well, that's a bit weird. And it kind of felt a bit trippy and like I was in a different dimension. And I was like, wow, ayahuasca's mad. And I was like, it didn't really resonate with me as being quite the prolific experience that I had heard about, with lots of things that I'd read and seen on YouTube and stuff after I started researching DMT. So I continued to keep ordering it weekly. So I experimented with it about 5 or 6 times. And on the last time, it was between Christmas and New Year. And I had bought my wife for Christmas this large amethyst geode, right? Really big thing. And it was a fucking giant rock and we had nowhere to put it. So she put it on this sideboard behind the sofa where I sit. And I didn't think this had any relevance to what happened to me this night, right? But this was pretty crazy. So like I said, I'd taken it about 5 or 6 times. The first time I went down to this place down the coast. The second time, well, not the second, it was like the 3rd or 4th time, I went back to exactly the same place on the coast. And I was like, look, I've got to go up there and find out what the fuck is going on. Why do I keep being shown this place, right? And I drove to exactly where I kept going to, right? And there was this bin dead opposite the turning that I was at, because I was scared to drive on this road, by the way. I was thinking, holy shit, am I being shown this because I die here? I started taking alternative routes to get to this particular town. But I drove up there anyway, and on this bin, there was an all-seeing eye sprayed on the bin. And I was like, oh, that's a bit weird. So I'm like, did my subconscious notice this? I don't know, haven't got a clue. So I'm really like, the ayahuasca's got me at this point. It's shrouded in mystery. I know it's trying to show me something and I don't know what. So between Christmas and New Year, something mad happened. I did a nice slow cook. Another 3-packet cook. So 3 of the chakaruna, 3 of the capi. And boiled it down to, 250 mil, just neck the lot. And I remember I sat in my living room. There was no shamanic drums. There was no one guiding my experience. There was just me feeling like really, really like I needed something else. And before I tell you what happened, let me just really set the scene for what happened to me a year before, because it's quite important to understand the journey. Now, I have come to realize that this is a dark night of the soul journey that I've experienced, because at the height of COVID mania, I was just absolutely, I saw no future, right, at all. I'm like, what's going on right now in the world is totally fucked. and I don't see any way out. And it seemed there was a lot of negative media, both from the mainstream and also from all the conspiracy theorists, all the QAnon theorists. And by the way, I think that QAnon and the Q drops themselves, I think they're two completely separate entities for sure. I think Q posts, Q drops is certain information, and then QAnon, it's just a bunch of conspiracy dickheads, right? Absolutely, 100%. Because there's things in there like watch the water, or how many times is something, how many coincidences are you going to see until it's mathematically impossible, or things like that were in the Q drops. And then you look into like QAnon stuff, and there was all this kind of dark stuff like Tom Hanks is eating children, and that he's dead. He's still making movies, so I can pretty much tell you he's not dead. And all this other real bad stuff. And I was looking at all sorts of really heavy shit, like flat Earth as well. I got really, Andy will know, we had a few arguments over flat Earth.
Can I just to cut you off quickly? I mean, just to kind of give everybody an idea, me and Keith have always been, I think pretty close, right? As kind of, really close. We don't let the balls touch, but it's something. When that happened during the COVID lockdown and all that sort of stuff, the sort of stuff, the rabbit hole that you were going down into, it did cause some, pressure, some arguments and things like that, because I've always been very kind of mainstream science and kind of mainstream ideology. And I was stubborn. I wasn't going to budge on this stuff. And then, when you started going down the path that you are now, that's where things really started to change, because I couldn't argue with anything. I couldn't argue with any logic you were saying.
Yeah. So there was something that there's something that you kept saying to me, Andy, right? You were like, look, if I told you something during the pandemic, some COVID conspiracy bullshit, as I like to call it now, if I'd found some COVID conspiracy bullshit, went, nah, man, look, you got to see this. They're doing this, they're doing that. And you're like, okay, show me the proof. And when I tried to find the proof, I could never find it. But the same thing happened for the mainstream, for the mainstream arguments as well. Like, there was actually no evidence of anything on either side. There was just opinion, albeit professional opinion, research, but it was all other people's opinions. And this would later become something that would totally free me in life. So just so you know, I was sick, man. I was really sick. I had people telling me after my ayahuasca experience, they were like, dude, we really thought we'd lost you for a while. And also, I'll also highlight to anyone that's watching this that doesn't know who I am or knows me at all, my general journey. I mean, I've had to have 2 YouTube channels over the years because I go to rehab and I come out and I think, no, I'm not going back to that YouTube channel. So I've been to rehab a couple of times. I always change, it's a bit of a journey. But I was like 20 stone, right? I was really big. I even a couple of years ago had liposuction, put it all back on again. Do
you have that before and after picture? Is it in your Telegram group? Maybe I could put it up on the stream so people get an idea.
Yeah, I did actually. I whipped it out the other day. So anyway, so this is all like kind of building.
May I interject for 1 second? I'm an American. I'm stupid. I don't understand what 20 stone means. Can you put that into stupid people in units, please?
I'll do the conversion on Google. One second.
Sorry, English simplified. 1 second, yeah.
No, you're good.
Kilograms or pounds?
I appreciate it. Dude, I don't care. I understand either. I just don't understand stone.
So, I mean, Keith, just to give an idea, what's your height?
5'9".
You're 5'9", and he was 280 pounds.
So let me.
Shit. All right, so that makes sense to me because
I'm trying to.
And I was 275, and I was like, bro, I am so fat at one point in my life. Okay, cool. Now I understand. Thank you for the context. I'm sorry. I apologize for interjecting.
One thing I will say, right?
Andy, sorry, mate. Where can I send this photo? Because it won't let me send it on. Won't let me send it into the group chat.
Put it into your Telegram. I'll get it from there.
No, man, no chance. I'll send it to you on Telegram.
Oh, okay, yeah, no, do that. Yeah, and you're cool with me putting this on the stream?
Yeah, sure, man. I shared it the other day.
So, I mean, just to give everybody a little bit of context, right? The Keith that I always knew was somebody, for lack of a way of putting it, and I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but, overweight, and somebody who loved their food, somebody who's got a very good relationship with culinary kind of, Keith's an awesome chef. That is a fact. You know, and you like the ice cream a bit as well. I mean, who doesn't like ice cream, right?
Mate, what's your Telegram ID, mate? I cannot find you for love nor fucking money.
All right,
Keep
dude.
changing your name.
Fuck it, do WhatsApp. Just, can you?
Nah, don't have raps. Yeah, do you know what? That's so much easier.
Yeah.
Let's do WhatsApp. Right, I'll send this to you. So anyway, right. So just kind of going back to everything, just because I do tend to get lost in my thoughts. Where was it? Where was I? Where were we at? So I was saying about the So I was pretty sick and all this sort of stuff. So that's where I was at. Right, my head was just in a really, really, really bad place. So then between Christmas and New Year, like sometime between Christmas and New Year, I think the 27th or the 28th. I'm sat on my sofa, man. I've drunk a hefty jar of ayahuasca, and I'm watching Sense8 on Netflix, right? And I don't know what happened, man. Like it was a little bit trippy, and then I think like the series had ended, and the next episode was starting, and it's got a really long intro and a long intro music, and that music I don't know what it did, man. It just put me in a trance. And the next thing you know, man, I am fucking somewhere else, right? I'm just not here, right? I remember I arrived at this place, and it was like just a new place. I mean, it's so hard to articulate what actually happened, but there was this massive golden Christmas tree structure in front of me. And I since learned that that's a representation of the pineal gland, and actually Indian festivals, they wear these kind of inverse chandeliers on their heads, actually as a worship this pineal gland, which is what I later found out I was looking at. So I've got this giant big Christmas tree structure in front of me, and I feel that in my mind's eye I am grinning like this. Oh, really like the most impossible smile, like the biggest smile you can imagine, and I just had this overwhelming rush of love. And when I say this rush of love, not like, ooh, it was ecstasy. It was real ecstasy. It was bliss. It was fucking incredible. And I was like, what's happening? And like there was people there. It's a bit like the Oscars where they're clapping. There's people welcoming me, and these were people that I felt I knew, but I didn't physically recognize them to see them. And there was no words spoken or anything. It was just, they were welcoming me home. And there was this big crescendo of music as I arrived. And it was, Andy, I've sent you that thing, by the way, now.
Yeah, no, the picture is on the stream. I'll ask you after. Carry on what you're saying.
Yeah, so I had this overwhelming sense of love, and I hear this song, and I could hear like a big crescendo, I could hear an orchestra, I could hear piano, and it was not a song I knew, right? Just like 100%, there's definitely no way I'd heard that particular song ever in my life. And then I started seeing my life reel, and I could see me being born, and during that, it was like I could see, I think it might have been the placenta coming out, because I'm at this stage, I'm a little confused. Am I seeing this from like above, or am I experiencing, reliving this experience when I was born? I could tell you the color of the smock that the doctors were wearing, the shade of blue that it was. I saw me falling off a bike as a kid. I saw loads of parts of my life, and then it started showing me like bad behavior. It's like, hey, dude, this stuff you do? You did that. And then it started showing me the good stuff. And he's like, which way do you want to go? And I was like, yeah, obviously I want to go to the good stuff. And then there was this kind of like this zooming out. Imagine you're zooming out on Google Earth and you just keep zooming. It was just like that. There's actually a video that went around on TikTok where somebody zooms out from Google Earth and it tries to show you how small we are in the universe. It was just like that. And during that kind of phase of it, there was a moment in this time that wasn't time. It's so hard to explain because until you've been there, you just don't know. It's really very, very difficult to articulate. But I knew everything for a brief moment in time. It basically, have you seen Paul, the movie Paul, right, with Simon Pegg and Nick Frost and Seth Rogen as the little grey alien? And there's a scene in Paul, right, where he touches their head, like Simon Pegg's head, and he gives him all his knowledge. It was very similar to that. It's like, for a moment in time, I knew everything. There wasn't anything I didn't know. And the two things I did different this time I took ayahuasca was, one, I spoke my intention to the brew. So I hadn't done that because you got to understand that at this point, my spiritual life was like, I just thought, nah, this is hippy dippy bullshit. I don't believe in this, spiritual crap. I wasn't a big spiritual person. I'm in AA, and in AA, spiritual program is very much part of recovery. And it was just the one part I never really kind of gave myself to. So I spoke my intention to the brew, and then I had this big amethyst crystal behind my head. I later learned that the properties of an amethyst crystal and the pineal gland itself, the pineal gland is actually is a crystalline structure, and when it opens, it opens like crystals. They like prong open like that, and then it ejaculates DMT into the brain even more. So I think that's what happened. I found that out after reading a book called Becoming Supernatural by Joe Dispenza, and he wasn't even talking about ayahuasca. He was talking just about connecting to the universal field, the one field that there is, and he explained what he can do in meditation. And it was identical. His accounts were identical to what happened to me. And I tell you what, near-death experiences, I've heard more near-death experiences that were similar to my experience on ayahuasca than the bullshit stories I hear people telling about ayahuasca. I hear people talking about ayahuasca, and they're saying stuff that I have not experienced. Like the DMT elves, alien beings, all that sort of shit. There went none of that. I was just straight up there. And
just to interrupt, I mean, so a lot of people when they take ayahuasca, because I've obviously been looking into this a little bit myself, because it's something that I'm tempted to kind of try and experience for myself. And from what I can gather, every journey, on it seems to be, personal anyway to the individual. But a lot of people tend to say similar things in terms of feeling rebirth or death. And some people have even coined the phrase ego death. I don't know if you agree with that or not, but
now, ego death is two different things, right? So I had ego death with the first time I took ayahuasca because I didn't know what it was. I kept going to this place down the road, and I didn't know what it was, and I'd have had ego death on ketamine as well. I thought it was an amoeba once, and I was just, all I could hear was a bass drum, just go boom, 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 and that was nothing. It was a very introspective trip when I was in Dahab in Egypt. But yeah, so I think that's the ego death. That's my interpretation of it. But it could be what you're saying is the break. What I experienced was a breakthrough. So ego death is something that's common, and breakthrough is another thing, I believe. Like I said, I've not been to a shaman. I've not done it with the shamanic rituals and all that sort of stuff. So I don't know. But what I later came to realize, like I was saying about the crystals, was that amethyst actually, and I remember fucking Googling it, man, just coming across it. Do you know what I was doing? I was trying to find out what foods I need to eat to feed my chakras, right? My energy centers, because your chakras are like little Tamagotchis all up and down your autonomic nervous system. You basically got to, they're purple, they're blue, they're green. Then you've got your yellow, orange, and red chakras, and basically you just have to eat food that's that color. And when I was looking for purple foods, I come across, they're talking about amethyst, and they're saying, well, amethyst actually helps. It helps with the seats of the soul, constant contact with the universe, and the opening of the pineal gland. And I'm like, holy shit, I literally had this dome geode behind my head at the time, so I can't help but think that had something to do with it, because it just came out of the blue. And I just got the message that, like, I'm God, but so are you, and so are you, and so are you, and so are you. We're all fucking God, all of us, every single one of us. And therein lies the problem, because I was holding on to so much hatred. Because I asked ayahuasca, when I spoke my intention to the brew, I asked when COVID was going to end, right? Because that was where my headspace was at. So that's what I fucking asked. And I got a very, very clear message as I came out of the experience. It was hilarious, by the way, as I'm coming out of it. I'm assuming my pineal gland, as it was closing, was just scanning all my memories in the field. And I was just started uncontrollably laughing. And my wife said, are you okay over there? And I was like, yeah, I just got to remember how to reinvent myself, because I didn't want to fuck it up and come back with like the Elephant Man or some shit. Turns out I come back half the body weight. And I swear to God, I brought someone back with me for sure.
This is what I was going to ask. So the picture that you sent is on the stream now. So I don't know if you guys on the call can see that. But the picture on the left hand side is essentially the man you were, and the picture on the right hand side is the man you are now.
Actually, no. The picture on the right hand side is the person I was a few months ago. I'm actually remarkably thinner now. As you know,
yeah. So you're actually even thinner than that now, and I must say as well, it doesn't come from starving yourself. It's not some sort of elaborate diet. And the thing is one thing that you've always struggled with off and on is obviously weight and eating and things like that for a plethora of different reasons, right? Sorry to get so personal, but it's the truth, right? So. So basically, watching and this was fucking fascinating for me. Watching you go from that to what you are now has blown my mind, because how, right? And you've done nothing apart from meditate, apart from experience the things that you've experienced. You haven't been going to the gym, you haven't taken on some sort of weird diet or anything like that. It's just happened.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't know if you can see this as well, but I noticed I happened to have a photo in January of myself, right? And this was a few days after the ayahuasca experience, right? And that was me, right? That was the photo. And so I started taking a photo on the 5th of every month, and I just started seeing me change every single month, and I haven't changed anything. All I had changed was that was 5 months. All I had changed was my relationship with food, and I'll talk about that in a second, because there's some other parts that. I just want to clear off the ayahuasca experience quickly, because there were some other bits that when I was like laughing uncontrollably, I had Boris Johnson and Saveed Javed from the UK government talking to me going, was it too much? Was the COVID too much? You understand why we had to do it? And which I thought was weird. And then I had a voice not verbally telling me, but giving me the knowledge, saying it has to be this way. It has to be this way. Just this repetition of knowledge. And I was fucking confused, man. I was so confused. I was like, what the hell just happened to me? And so this was, like I said, 27th of December, just over a month later, on the 1st of February, my 42nd birthday, my wife gave me a book called Becoming Supernatural by Joe Dispenza. And this is where things get really weird, right? Because like I said, this book, very early on in the book, he explains him connecting to the field, opening his pineal gland and his experience. And I'm like, fuck me, it's exactly the same. Different experience, but different circumstance. But, what he said was everything that I kind of experienced. And, the pineal gland itself, I didn't, because when I saw this big giant gold Christmas tree structure, I didn't think for a second it was my pineal gland, right? What I thought was, holy shit, we have Christmas trees and we celebrate Christmas, I think, to keep us easy to control, to stop us going too mad, because the Christmas tree with the star on the top is the pineal gland opening. Okay. So the whole tree is the pineal gland. The star is the seat of the soul, which is like 18 centimeters above your head. There's a chakra that exists above your head. So that's the star. And then all the Christmas tree lights is when it lights up. And underneath you've got presence, right? The present moment. Okay, that's what Christmas really is. Okay, don't let anybody tell you about it, right? Because the stories of Jesus Christ, okay, are completely they're very misconstrued. To the point that he was just a normal guy. Okay, he wasn't going around saying he's the son of God. He was going around saying we're all sons of God. And we immortalized him, idolized him, and turned him into this religious cult leader. Okay, which he was just a dude, right? And Moses was clearly bang on psychedelics when he saw the burning bush, 100%. Because psychedelics teach you, but it's true. Because before scripture, how did we learn? Well, we learned through plant medicine, because I have learned a huge amount through a couple of trips. I got information that I could then later go and check on Google, and there's other people saying this shit. And I'm like, well, how did I have that knowledge? So anyway, I got the whole knowledge about the Christmas tree, the symbolism of the Christmas tree, and even, okay, I got it. Again, a voice telling me, not a physical voice in my ear or even in my head, but just this feeling, this knowing, saying, and also, by the way, Coca-Cola didn't give Santa Claus his colors. Okay, because we all know the story that St. Nick used to be green and white, and then Coca-Cola came out with Santa Claus, and he was red and white and black. Okay, well, that's the fly garrig mushroom. Okay, because the fly garrig mushroom is how Europeans would connect to the source. Because obviously, if you're in South America, in Ecuador, places like that, you have ayahuasca, you have peyote. In Northern Europe, you have mushrooms, and the colors of the mushrooms were the ones that would help people connect to and give them the information. And don't forget, it's logical, because mushrooms grow through a network of mycelium. That network of mycelium connects fucking everything. I mean everything. You watch a documentary on Netflix called Fantastic Fungi, and everything makes sense now for plant medicine. Because there's this whole network of mycelium, even to the extent that if there are two trees, one is healthy and has an abundance of nutrients, and one is dying, the one that's healthy will send through the mycelium. It will send more nutrients to the tree that's dying to make sure it doesn't die. This is evidence that we're all one thing.
One thing that I spoke to you quite a bit about, I always kind of repeat, the story of Star Trek and Gene Roddenberry, if you remember. And with the new Star Trek, that's actually something that's incorporated into the story. They travel through the mycelium network to get to different places. With the Star Trek, I just thought that was kind of interesting because
that is interesting. Actually, I didn't know that. I'm not a big Luke Skywalker fan. Sorry.
Don't do that. No.
I was a Next Gen fan, actually. To be fair, I'm a Picard man. Anyway, I'm now like got all this stuff starts happening, right? So I've got my knowledge. I then get given this book, and then it further ratifies that this thing that I saw wasn't just the pineal gland, but it wasn't just a Christmas tree. It is in fact the pineal gland. So all of this is starting to make sense to me, and I thought this is cool. This is the 1st of February, by the way, and this book teaches you how to meditate with intention. There's a lot of stuff about the law of attraction, like within, like the documentary in the book, The Secret, and all that sort of stuff. It's all centered around the kind of that sort of stuff. Because, no one ever showed me how to meditate. In all my time in rehab, and not that I was always in rehab, and it was cocaine, by the way, just so you know, because I am normal. But yeah, it was, I was never shown how to meditate. And, step 11, of the 12 steps of AA is through constant prayer and meditation to develop a conscious contact with God. And it was like, or God of my understanding. And like, I was shown the praying bit, but I was never shown the meditating bit. So anyway, Joe Dispenza taught me that. And then I got into meditation. And that's when stuff really started to get fucking interesting, right? Because this is when I'm a superhero at this point. And shit's just like so cool, right? For a start, I start realizing I'm experiencing 20 odd coincidences a day, right? Like all the time. My favorite one I like talking about is Jack, Andy. So I'll tell you, I'll use this example. But I was going training to Richard's shortly after this experience, and I drove past Jack's car. Because he was living around the corner, and he had his garage door open. He had his Corvette in the garage with the bonnet up and a broom handle holding up the bonnet. And I thought, oh, I know, I'll jump off my quad, I'll drop my trousers, right, and I will take a photo of my arse out in front of his car, right? Because I thought it would be funny. I didn't do it. It was a passing thought, but that thought I left at this fucker's house, right? Because thoughts don't exist in the brain. Okay, emerging science is now suggesting that our neurons are actually antennae that are taking our thoughts out of the air, out of the ether. Our thoughts exist there. It's like an encryption key that can dial into our thoughts, but we can also expand that to dial into other people's thoughts. And you got to see the evidence of it until you can really get on board with that theory, right? And one day I'm at this athletic center around the corner from my house picking up my daughter, and I look over at my Porsche and I see someone crouched next to it. I'm like, oh, fuck, so what the fuck's somebody doing over there? And I go up and it's Jack pulling his ass out, going to take a photo like that. And I'd never told him what I did. I'd never told him that I thought about taking a photo of me with my ass out in front of his car, and then there he is doing it. And that's just one of many, 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 many coincidences. So
I just want to ask the people that are watching on YouTube. I've got the chat open in YouTube and in Twitch as well. I'm just wondering if anybody has ever had an experience where they've had a thought, but they haven't acted upon it, and then they've seen somebody else acting on, the thought that you had within a short time after. Because I know I have.
Yep.
Yeah, for sure, man. I mean, if you listen to Greg Braden, he's also on Gaia. He's written the Divine Matrix and stuff like that. He talks about, he pioneers a lot of the theory out there of thoughts already existing in the field. And I mean, I haven't even got to fucking Valentine's Day yet, man. I mean, that will blow your minds. But like, he says that films, right? There's a video he did, and he talked about the film Arrival, right? And it's a video about language that he's talking about on YouTube. And he said that the film Arrival, he uses that as an example of that story already exists in the field because we need to reevaluate how we treat our language. And he uses an example of like the Hopi people in wherever the fuck they are. It's weird that he mentions the Hopi people because I've heard the term the Hopi prophecy before. I think I heard it from the Simpsons movie, but there we go. We all know that they fucking know everything, don't they? But here's the thing. He was saying that, you know, the way that we construct our language, because we don't live in the present, right? Western language, English, for example, we have a past tense term for things, right? And he uses the example that the Hopi don't say when they look at the sea, they don't say, oh, look, there's a wave, because that's a past tense phrase. They say the sea is waving. And because that's how their language is constructed, there's nothing in their language to suggest the past. Their brains are wired in a very, very different way, and they see reality in a very different way as well, because they don't treat reality as they don't treat the past as in the same way that we do, and our neurons fire in a very different way. So he says that his theory is that the film Arrival, where they have like weird ink blotches as kind of like their language, because we've got language here that we cannot translate from like, you know, pre-Sanskrit kind of era. It was kind of just saying that maybe, you know, like the film Arrival is trying to show us we're looking at things wrong. We're using language in a way that we don't understand. And this goes further, you know, like a lot of the meditation stuff that Joe Dispenza and Greg talk about is actually based on the Lost Gospel of Thomas, which was founded in Israel in the Dead Sea Scrolls. And it never made it into print in the main like King James Bible because it was written in such a way that it didn't read like a story like the rest of the Gospels, so it never made it in there. And in fact, you know, there's a line in the Lost Gospel of Thomas. I've got it at home. And again, I'm not religious in any way, shape, or form. Religion's been it's a perversion of the truth. And there's a phrase in there. I think it's passage 106, and it says, "When the two become one, man will look at a mountain and say, 'Move, mountain, move,' and the mountain will move away." And it goes on to discuss the language of the universe. And Joe Dispenza, Greg Braden, and a lot of people in that kind of esoteric field that like to back, and Bruce Lipton and people like that like to back it up with science. They believe that the language of the universe is mind coherence and heart coherence. And when you get the two working together, that's when you can really start to affect change, and you can start to heal, and you can start to realize what you are, and you can start to create, which is when we're at our happiest. So yes, so definitely. And he uses an example in that very video of saying that he's come up with book titles, right, and taglines for a book, right, and he's just saved them on his computer. No one can see them. And then 6 months later, he's gone onto Amazon. He sees the same fucking book and the same title for the book, and even the same tagline, indicating what you were just saying there. He had the thought, he didn't act on it. Someone got there before him. And he says that's the same with music, any inspiration, divine inspiration. So this brings me on to my next thing, right? And sorry if I'm dominating this conversation. I do apologize, guys. But let me just get this bit out of the way, because this is the thing that made me realize what happened to me was real. And when I arrived in this place, right, like I said, there was this music, right? On Valentine's Day this year, like we got a couple of speakers out by the pool, and I was just going onto the iTunes, and I was creating a playlist on Valentine's Day of a song by Uruma, right? It's a Korean, I think, pianist. And it's a song called The River Flows in You. And that song was used by the people that edited my wedding DVD 10 years ago. And my wife kind of adopted it as the wedding song, right? So anyway, I put loads of versions on, right? I've still got the playlist on my phone, right? Loads of different versions. I'll show you, right? And this is how many different versions of this song there actually is, just to kind of show you. So I've got library playlists. There it is, River Flows, right? So just to give you an idea, I don't know if you can see this very well, right? But that's how many versions of the song there are. Covers, right? Covers. You've got guitar versions, orchestra versions, or versions by the original artist. There's loads of them. So I thought, well, rather than listen just to the one song, I will put all of them on shuffle. And then when the wife got out of bed, come outside by the pool, give us some Valentine's presents, etc. And we did all of that, right? Anyway, the music playlist kept playing, and later in the day, this version came on. Right now, this is it's the Uruma version on an album called Rewritten Memories, right? Of River Flows in You. And about 3 minutes in, there's this big crescendo. It was the fucking song that I heard when I was there, right? Now, it sounds nothing like the original. Nothing. Is like the original is literally just a piano piece. This was full-blown orchestra, and it was big, it was grand, and it was a part of the song that was done very, very differently. And when I realized that that was the song that I had heard in my ayahuasca experience, I nearly fucking cried. In fact, for about 4 or 5 times after hearing the song again, I mean, I was worried. I was driving to Granada not too long ago, and the song came on and the bit came on that I'd heard. And I was genuinely worried that I was going to spontaneously connect to the field whilst driving at like 200 fucking kilometers an hour in the Porsche. And, you know, to me, it made it real. You know, it was like, well, whilst I know it's an unbelievable story and a lot of people go, well, that's bollocks. Because I would say, the old me would have said, well, that's bollocks. You're full of shit. But I experienced it. I saw it. I'd never. Now, you explain, how the fuck did I hear that song up there when there's no way that it could have possibly be? I could never have heard it because I've not sought it out, and it's not a common song. The orchestra version is not a common song. It's not like it's played on Spotify or Amazon playlists or anything like that. It's a very, very rare version of a popular song. So at this point now, I now know what happened to me was absolutely real. The book came into my life after the ayahuasca, I think for a reason. I think there was divine intervention to re-steer how I live and how I treat my life. And it was about 9 days into meditating that I had people coming up to me and they were saying, holy shit, look at you. And I'm like, what? And they're like, man, your eyes look really blue. And they're like, you've lost weight. You look like you're glowing and your skin looks good. And like, all these amazing compliments. And I mean, it bowled me over because I was like, well, yeah, I just started meditating. And in my meditations, I was imagining myself thin. Right, that was what I was trying to do. I was like, something bothered me all my life. It's like, what am I going to manifest? I'm going to manifest being thinner, right?
Tell the truth. You were manifesting a bigger cock, first of all.
And a bigger cock. Yeah, absolutely. And I got it. I got everything I asked for. So I wish I had the original list on me, but they all came true.
Sorry, go on.
One was to pay less taxes as well, right? And that was the last one that came true. And I got an email from my accountant a couple of weeks later saying, oh, there's a new thing for crypto. So you just have to pay this small tax this year because they've got this Modelo 721 next year. So I'm like, holy shit, I pay less tax this year. So everything on this list that I did came true from manifestations. But yeah, and I was talking about food in a minute. Andy, you crack on, mate. It's your show.
No, I was
food thing.
I was literally just going to say I can testify to the change. Like, I haven't had any experiences with ayahuasca. I haven't read the book. I've read parts of it, but I haven't read it in its completion. And all I've done really is observed you and what you've been going through, what you've spoken about, and so on and so forth. But I haven't. I have. It's fascinating observing you. But I haven't experienced these things myself. And one thing I can absolutely testify to is everything that you've just said about, the transformation to how you were to how you are now. And it is absolutely true. You are a completely different person. The weight loss, like you said about the glowing, your eyes, everything. You are a completely different person. Even to the point where it's like before, Keith's always been a very funny guy. The jokes just flow out of you naturally. And you're very expressive with your language, of course. Everybody knows that. Everybody knows your channel, knows that you're very expressive with language. But even to the point now where it's like, you won't joke about things, that could bring anybody else down, whereas before it was kind of fair game, at the end of the day, because it's like, that's sometimes how comedy works, right? So you have like really changed that as well, because you're very aware that, negatively speaking to somebody else, for example, that, that can come back on you. It's not fair, for that person, or whatever. And it's like all of these things that have changed about you for the better, I might add, and it's like just totally different person. And it is really mind-blowing to watch.
It opens it opens a door in the brain for sure, like 100%. You know, we all grow up as well, don't we? Told that we only use 5% of our brain. You know, like that was the old narrative that we used to get told. And excuse me, and you know that I think that's very true, because the rest of it is used for dialing into things that we can't understand a lot of the time, or we dismiss. Okay, so. Yeah, we've got a lot of phrases, we've got a lot of things that happen in our language that, you know, they really do allude to what's happening with me, for example, like things like trust your gut. You know, well, if your sacral chakra is not in line, you know, or if it is in line and it's giving you a signal, you know, you should listen to that. You know, and this brings me on to my food journey, because I mean I think this is probably one of the things.
You go on to the food journey, one thing I just want to say, you sent me you sent me a picture this morning showing your chakras in alignment.
Barry with the big black cock. Oh, right, sorry.
No, the chakras in complete alignment. I'm going to pull the picture up and put it on the stream in a minute, so that people can see. There's nothing personal on that, is there? No, I don't think so. So I will put that on the stream. So when you so you've got this device, and you can talk about, you know, what this device is in a minute, but basically you scan each finger, and it will then display your chakras and how in a line or out of a line they might be, and then it tells you, you know, what these things could be, what you need to do to put them back into alignment. Sorry if I'm butchering the description, but you know that's essentially what it is. When you did mine, most of my chakras were in almost perfect alignment except for one. And I found that very interesting, because I have never in my life been a spiritual person, not by a long shot. And that was the one that was miles away. It was just not even connected anywhere near my body at all, which I found very, very, very interesting. So that on the stream now, I need to resize it, but this is the one that you sent me this morning. So, you know, in really good alignment. If you could just kind of explain to people what that is, how that works, what we're looking at.
Yeah. Sorry, just bear with me 1 second, actually, Andy, because I'm actually going to get the. I'm going to get it up on my. I'm going to get it up. I'm just going to log into my BioWell software, so I can also see your one, just so I know for reference what you were talking about specifically. Yeah. 1 second, mate. Hold on. Let me just do this. Hold on. Oh my god. I don't have a caps lock button on my computer, so I never know whether I'm writing my passwords in all caps or not. So
if anybody watching has any questions for Keith, you know, I know obviously some people are going to be skeptical or maybe believe or not believe in certain things, and it's totally okay to ask questions. So if anybody has a question or a statement that they want to make, you know, please go ahead and do so. You're
assuming people are watching. Right, so let's have a look at your chakras. Oh yeah. So I'm just looking at yours now, mate. By the way, I'm gonna throw this up on the screen for people just so they can see. I'm gonna take a photo and then show on my camera. That's Andy's ones. So I don't know if you can see that very well, but yeah, his top chakra is way out, but actually yours are all within the green band, which actually means you're generally in line. Anyway, so hold on, I've just got to log out of Skype because somebody's messaging me. I hate Skype. It's so intrusive.
So yeah, yours you sent me this morning is obviously, you know, practically dead center, you know?
Yeah. So, so there's a lot to unpack here, right? So, you know, I'm going to be jumping around quite a bit. So, I think the easiest thing to do, I think I have to explain the food journey first, mate. I'm afraid.
Yeah, no, go for it.
It really relates to it. So first of all, we're just talking about chakras, right? If I heard the word chakra, right, I would shut that fucker down straight away. I'd be like, "Oh, piss off, you fucking hippie!" Like 100%, wasn't interested. I'm like, don't talk about that hippy dippy crap. I'm just not interested. I was a very nuts and bolts kind of guy. All I cared about was money. I was quite shallow. Struggled with addiction, obviously, because that was karmic balance. You know, I was going in the wrong way. I was amassing all this money, but then I was suffering somewhere else. I had no balance in my life, and what I came to learn is that our energy centers, and this is thanks to Joe Dispenza and the work that Joe Dispenza's done, your chakras are otherwise known as energy centers because he describes it as a plexus of neurons up and down your autonomic nervous system. Now, if you Google plexus of neurons, there's a lot of anti-media say there's no scientific proof behind it, right? Whatever you want to believe here, you know, I'm not going to go down the conspiracy route, but there's certainly a narrative out there that isn't for our own benefit. But the way Joe Dispenza explains it, he's done a lot of placebo tests and whatnot, and he explains that each energy center, obviously you can see for the photo that Andy's put up, they're all located up and down the body. So they operate, one of their jobs is to operate the organs near each one, right? So you've got your root chakra, which is in your perineum. So that's kind of like going to control all your sexual organs and anything kind of like below the waist, so to speak. So if you've got any... if you're using your root chakra, if you're doing a lot of fucking, for example, or you're eating a lot of food and you're doing a lot of shitting and you're putting your colon through a lot of trouble, then, you know, those chakras, they're going to be depleted from energy. Okay, you'll get your energy, your life energy, whether you want to believe it or not, you want to call it orgone, chi, life energy, universal energy, whatever you want to call it. That is where we get our life energy from, right? It's a fact, right? And I have experienced this now. One of the things you'll see on, I don't know if the image is still up, but my chakras are quite large. I have quite a lot of energy in them. I have a lot of joules in them.
Yeah, I forgot to mention that as well. The size of them, you know, changes as well. Yeah.
Yeah. Like when I look at my first scan that I ever did, they were quite piddly. They were all over the place. And now they're just smack down the middle. Very, very nice feeling to have because I know that I'm doing the right thing. But I'll go to the food thing now because this is a really key thing. And if there's one message I would love people to go away from, if anybody's watching this, that they're hearing what I'm saying right now, you need to understand this, right? What we're told about food is a lie. Okay, it's a lie to perpetuate the economy, and we know this from very basic things like the dairy industry. For people that live in England, right? We have something called the milkman, right? And the milkman will, good old milkman will turn up on his little electric milk float, and he'll bring you milk. He'll even bring you dairy products. He'll even bring you veg, right? But the reason that the dairy industry itself exists is because eggs are really easy to produce, right? Really easy to produce, as is milk, as is cheese, as is butter, right? They're not good for us, most of the stuff. The dairy side of things is not good for us. Eggs, however, get a bad rap, right? Because actually eggs, in England, we had a period of time where there was an advertising campaign saying that eggs give you high cholesterol. So they said, like, don't eat too many eggs. What had actually happened is in the UK, the battery conditions for the hens that were laying the eggs was so fucking bad. They were given like these tiny little boxes that they all started getting diseased and sick. And then we started having things like salmonella and other like bacteria going into the eggs. They had to cull all of the chickens, right? So there was a period of time, and that period of time, so that this wouldn't really get out, they just encouraged the population to eat less eggs by saying they were bad for you and they were full of cholesterol, right? So once they had solved that they could give them an extra 2 cubic inches or something and they were a lot happier and they would lay regular, they could then start ramping it up, right? And then we had new advertising campaigns, right, in England, okay, saying eggs, fast food are good for you. Oh, yeah, they're good. They contain vitamin B6. They have this, they have that. Turns out they're like a miracle food, right? And when you think about it, when you think logically about it, what is an egg? It is the nucleus that's giving life to something. Yeah, it's where it grows. It's where it gets it.
Chicken period.
Life. Chicken period. It's the greatest way of explaining it, but it is. But that's what it is. So it is the giver of life, right? Anyway, so food is a scam. 3 meals a day is a scam. Not when you're a kid, you're still growing. But once you're fully grown, do you really need to eat? Right? That's the question. That's the question, right? And I'd been out for this walk with a couple of families, again, back in February, meditating for a few days now, a few weeks at this point. And after this walk, we were like, hey, look, we had a long drive back. We were like, why don't we go to this new area that we never normally go to, a place called Rincon de la Victoria in next to Malaga in Spain. We never go to Rincon. It's like, let's go to Rincon, guys. We'll try something new. My exact words. So we get to this place, right? And it's about 5 o'clock in the evening in Spain, right? None of the restaurants, because they have siesta, none of the restaurants open of an evening until about 7 o'clock when it's out of season, right? Sorry, I was just looking at the chat that's going on. Fizz does look like John Cena a bit, actually, doesn't he? Anyway, so no,
we'll open it up for people to ask some questions in a minute. We just finish this.
I will take that compliment.
But yeah, so like, so what happened? I went for this meal. And I did what I normally do, right? And what I normally fucking do, right, was I normally order a pizza, right? In particular, a Hawaiian pizza, right, with blue cheese. Now, I thought I liked that food, right? That was something that I had wired into my brain. And I've since learned, actually, quite recently, in fact, that the reason I thought I liked that food was when I was a kid, it was very easy to get Hawaiian pizzas delivered to the house already cooked. Didn't have to make any effort. People would bring food to my door. That's why I liked pizza. Because I had this pizza at this restaurant and I felt like shit. And I was fully aware of how bad I felt. The bread was stodgy, the ham tasted awful, the tomato was bad. It wasn't a round pizza, which got my nerves up a little bit. It was an oval one served on a wooden board. And I thought, fuck you. What a round pizza. Anyway, so I had this horrible pizza and I remember looking at the menu, right? And before I'd ordered this pizza, my favorite sort of food, I remember seeing a walnut salad and I remember that. That's the only other thing I remember on the menu, right? And this person I was having dinner with, one of our friends, Christina, she said, oh yeah, I do that. And if I see something that my higher power goes, that's the one that I'm going to have, I just have that. I never question it. And as I was walking back to the car, it was about a 45-minute walk back to the car. I was really feeling sluggish. I was feeling like really slow, and I didn't enjoy that meal. I didn't even want that meal, and I had less energy. And in a heartbeat, in a moment, I realized that my entire relationship with food was based on how it fucking tasted. And we all do it, right? We all do it. We eat based on how it tastes. Like, how is this going to taste on my tongue, right? And not, how is this going to make me feel for the next 3 or 4 hours? It was a single thought, one thought. After that day, Andy, well, you know the rest of the story. It just started dropping off of me. I realized that I'm just not going to eat, right? So I'd always struggled fasting. Okay, I like the idea of fasting, but I struggled doing it. But I remembered back to a diet I did years ago that told me that a boiled egg, by the time you've eaten it and an hour's passed, there's fuck all calories. So you can cheat the fast. So I started eating boiled eggs. And I don't mean like 30 of the fuckers. I mean like I'd have one boiled egg at maybe midday and maybe another one at 4 o'clock. And then at dinner time, I'd be like, I'd evaluate whether I am actually hungry or not. And the vast majority of the time I was not. And I feel like I've got more energy. I feel better. I look better. I fuck better. I do everything I do better, right? Ask your Mrs. Andy, she knows. Anyway, but yeah, like everything works better. And now I look at when people feel sluggish, tired, and they even talk about it, right? You know, like at Christmas when everyone it's almost like they brag about the gluttony. They're like, oh, I ate so much, I fell asleep. Okay, well then that's telling you a story, isn't it, already, about what we're told about what we are, right? Because we're fucking told we've got to eat 3 meals a day. When you go out to a town or a village, there's nothing but restaurants. That's what there is to do. It's eat or buy shit. And it's like, but once you're fully grown, why do you need to eat? And the answer is you don't. I don't know if you look into pranayama or breatharians or sun eaters. There are people that haven't eaten for years because they worked out through years of meditation that they can keep the life energy inside them. They keep the energy in those chakras and it gives them all the energy they need. So talking about the chakras, and I'm sorry this was a very long-winded way to get there, but the reason that some of your chakras are out, Andy, from your first scan are because they are busy doing other things. So I looked at yours and yeah, your pituitary gland, your third eye chakra was like here. Yeah. Now, why is that? Well, you think a lot. You consume a lot of content, a lot of information. So you think a lot. That could be that, you have a passion for learning. Okay. But one of the things that really freed me was that, and this going back to COVID, one of the things that really freed me post-COVID and post-ayahuasca and all this kind of revelation of life was that I was letting other people's opinions form my reality, right? So I would let the government form my reality. I would let government guidelines form my reality. Like I would let my education in school form my reality. And I had no one else to question reality because everyone else that was in school with, they were all being told the same shit as well. They were being told, yeah, it's really normal to be in this hierarchical structure where we're being told to sit down, shut up, do as you're told. And then we leave school and we get told that to do that in our working life as well. Because these are all lies. These are all absolute lies. It's a very corrupt system. Most people, it's not a big secret, but most people are fully aware that the modern education system now was designed around the Victorian dawn of the Industrial Revolution to make people smart enough to do certain jobs, but not smart enough to question why they're doing them. And that goes with everything. Our consumption habits, our addiction habits, everything. All of it is designed to either test us. Because here's the question, here's the real problem, right? And I'm sorry if I'm missing bits here, and if you're not following this, I do apologize, but there's a lot of information to get out that's really, really important. But like when I realized that consuming other people's opinions was forming my reality, so like I let conspiracy theorists form my opinion in COVID, Andy let mainstream media form his opinion. I think one thing we left out of the chat and left out of the conversation is that me and Andy were actually both on exactly the same page with COVID when it first happened. We were both like, this is bullshit. Instantly. And then we both took two different paths. One was to listen to the mainstream, one was to listen to the anti-media, right? None of them were right. The answers were all within. If you want something to be true, as the phrase goes in the Bible, and again, not religious, it's just a fucking good book. God gave you eyes to see and ears to hear. Okay, it's up to you to decipher what is real. And you get those answers from within. You don't get it from the external. You just don't. There's so many things that you can look at, like TV programs are called programs, for fuck's sake. TV used to generally be, in the 80s, there was a lot of subliminal messaging going on, like for guerrilla marketing and all of that to influence out what we do. And we're very easy to trick. Because we're these mad manifestation beings that our thoughts can manifest into 3D reality. So we're just constantly bombarded with misinformation. And what was the fucking tagline of Trump's presidency? Misinformation. And for the most part, it was right over our heads of what he really fucking probably meant. And what he probably really meant was that everything is misinformation. The only real true thing that you can ever know is what you can feel within. And the most ecstatic, most impressive, most divine experience I've ever had all fucking came from within. And it gave me every single answer I needed to know, to the point that I have no desire to continue amassing money, working or anything like that. I eventually will run out if the bear market keeps ripping and I keep spending on shit. I have no desire to go back to what I was doing before. The only thing I want to do now is I want to tell people that it's all okay. Trust your instincts and just do whatever the fuck you want, because none of this matters. None of it's real. And I mean, man, we don't die.
When it comes to therapy, one thing I look at, Keith knows this, is psychological therapies and things like that. And it's absolutely true. When you're talking to somebody who's going through a lot of things, maybe tough things in their life or whatever, it's a lot of it is letting go of the past, letting go of limiting or strongly held beliefs that are holding you back. And you're on the same wavelength with that, except we see it from different perspectives in that respect. But it's also the fact that it's that's what has to be done in order for you to move on.
Yeah, I mean, it's not really different perspectives. I think it's just it's like religion. I understand now how all religions coexist. Like Buddhism, Catholicism, Islam. They all have a similar story. They all had people in their communities that realized that we were capable of miracles and we could do all this fucking crazy shit. Okay, but in each and every fucking one of them, in each and every one of these religions or whatever you want to call them, you get a lot of people that want to just listen and go, okay, that's nice to know. They want to talk the talk. They don't want to walk the walk. And it's like when I was in AA. I mean, the big book of AA, there was a lot of similarities with the Bible, and there's also a lot of similarities with becoming supernatural. There's also a lot of similarities with the works of Buddha, a lot of similarities with the Quran. It's all there. It was just indigenous information passed down over generations. That when we started making books, we were getting the message out. And back then we just had books. We didn't have what we've got today, which is this amazing internet where we can have, open conversations and everybody can check it out and go, well, hold on a minute, I know that to be true as well, and now I think we're on the verge of global consciousness awakening.
Well, communications and technology have made the world a very smaller place, and we're all starting to learn a lot more about each other and different cultures and things like that, which is a good thing. You know, and I know there's going to be a lot of people that are going to have, you know, different beliefs and different viewpoints and things like that. And I know that, you know, the guys in the chat are burning to ask you questions about everything that you've spoken about. So, you know, first of all, if you have an opposing opinion, keep it respectful. At the end of the day, we can have an adult conversation. But first, before I pass it over to Fizz and Priest and Regulus as well, if you want to ask some questions. Somebody's already asked a question on YouTube, and that was from Slayer Fan, and he says, I'm about halfway through the book, you know, referring to obviously the Joe Dispenza book, Becoming Supernatural, and he says, what is the best way to start doing some of the methods in the book?
So there's I did a video the other day actually, and I put all the resources on it, right? So Slayer Fan, dude, look at the description of the video with Becoming Supernatural on it. All the links are there. So there was a couple of meditations that I started off with, and when you get to the point in the book where it starts saying do the meditations, he directs you to joedispenza.com or drjoedispenza.com, tells you which meditations to download and practice. And the first one is tuning into new potentials, right? This is a meditation that I found incredibly powerful, right? There's it starts off with some breath work where you're drawing energy up your spine, up into your, essentially into your pineal gland, because the pineal gland is like a PZO, you know, and PZOs need like a mechanical thing to open them, right? And what opens them is this fluid that you draw up from your spine, you draw all the way up, and you keep pushing it up against the back of your, up into your head, and he tells you to hold it in your head. You don't need to do that before meditation. He tells you to do that before the meditations so that when you're ready, you fucking know how to do it, right? So that's one thing you need to know. But tuning into new potentials, right? This was the most, it was fucking amazing, as you know, Andy. But what you do, and what Dispenza says, he says, where you place your awareness is where you place your energy, or where you place your energy is where you place your awareness, right? So I was trying to draw something, but the pen on my desk has gone missing, so I can't. But basically, you draw an energetic letter. You draw like the letter A on a piece of paper, or the initial for your name, and these squiggled lines to represent energy around this letter. So that letter surrounded by your energy, you can envisage that letter, right? And it means something. What does it mean, right? You write a list of what you want to achieve on one side, and you write a list of elevated emotions on the other. And this comes back to what I said about the Gospel of Thomas. When the two become one, when the mind and the heart work together, then you can start to create and affect change in your life. So, for example, I wrote, I'll try and remember them by memory, but I wanted I wanted my life to be more exciting. Because obviously after COVID it was shit, right? So, and I felt that there was no future. So I wanted my life to be more exciting. I wanted to pay less taxes. I wanted a bigger cock, straight up. I wanted a 6-pack, right? And there was another one, and I forget what the other one was. I think it was the house next door. I wanted the house next door, but I didn't want to pay what he wanted. And all of them transpired, right? But anyway, so I put these lists of things that I wanted down. And then on the other side, I had to have corresponding elevated emotions. Things like gratitude, happiness, joy, freedom. You know, you got to really dial into what do those emotions feel like. Now, it's quite hard to just bring up an emotion on command. And he has another meditation. And both of these two meditations are listed on my YouTube video that I was just saying I put out the other day. And the other meditation is called Reconditioning the Mind to a New Body. And this one is very similar. It starts off with the breath work. And what you do is in that you spend the first half of the meditation just going into like a theta state in your brain, which is when you're in like that trance state. So you know when you're like watching TV and no one can get your attention because you're like, shut up, Baywatch is on, sort of thing. That's when you're in theta state, when you're totally in a trance. So that's the first half of the meditation, is to get into that state. And then the second half, he starts talking about what is courage, what is this, what is that? And he's talking about all emotions. He's like, can you imagine what this emotion is like? So there's your emotion, bringing up the emotion training. So the two meditations work hand in hand. So I set one as a morning meditation, one as an evening meditation. Simple as that, right? And it's an hour each time. You might be thinking, an hour? as you may have noticed, I have trouble shutting the fuck up, right? So for me to sit down for 2 hours a day and not talk was very challenging. It was very challenging. But what came out of it at the end was just nothing short of incredible. So that was the first step. The next step, and one thing that I found, sorry, that John Cena gif that you've set in Discord is really, it keeps waving at me. I'm going to have to change the screen. There we go. I can't get rid of it. Go away. There we go. So yeah, like the second thing, these things called mind movies. Now, mind movies start off with 8 minutes of kaleidoscope. You watch a kaleidoscope, and what that does is that also puts your brain into theta state very quickly, quicker than in the meditation. The meditation takes about half an hour. But visually, if you're watching a kaleidoscope, because your brain can't make any sense of it, you go into theta state far quicker. And then in a mind movie, you then watch like a 3 or 4 minute positive affirmation video where you've got a song in the background and you're just seeing these really positive things telling you that you're beautiful, you're thin, you eat healthy, you're rich, whatever you want, right? And I found 5 of these pre-made ones on a YouTube channel called Gaia Meditations. Again, they're all in the description of the video I did the other day. And I replaced my evening viewing of TV with those. And what it does is it starts to brainwash yourself to start thinking that you are a great person. It removes all of your self-limiting beliefs. And because it's all doing it on the subconscious, it takes a lot of the hard work out for you, right? So you're quite literally washing your brain with positivity. And we've heard it for years. Positive mental attitude and all this sort of stuff. It works because it works. But why does it work? And the reason, like Andy, you were saying earlier, we have different beliefs and different thoughts, but we get to the same kind of conclusion through different ways. I am of the belief that what Joe Dispenza talks about is the core. That's the core reason. He demystifies it. You said you don't finish the book. I gave you that book for a reason, Andy, because when you read it, you will see all the science that adds up to it, and a penny just drops. Once you have the information about how we operate, why we operate, and you see all the studies and all the cases, all the use cases, the fact that we can produce any chemical compound in our bodies along our chakra system. We're the world's most advanced pharmacy, but we're led to believe that that's not good enough. We got to go to the fucking pharmacy. We got to go to GPs. Don't get me wrong, we need surgeons, but we don't need any of that other stuff. You know, everything we need grows in the fucking ground, and we have plants that show us that we can do things. Whatever a plant can do, we can do without the plant, because we are the plant, right? We're all the same thing. We're all the same thing. And this is the thing. This is the incredible thing.
Well, if you believe in the Big Bang theory, right? We're all the same age as the universe. We're all made out of stardust and everything else.
We are the universe. For fuck's sake.
Exactly.
No, I don't believe in the Big Bang theory, because I don't believe in any mainstream theory. It's not. I'm open to it, but I don't really give it any. There's just no way they can.
Okay.
Know. There's just no way they can.
So what do you think happened then?
I
have to ask a question. What do you think happened then if you don't believe in the Big Bang?
It's always ever been and always ever will be.
A lot of mainstream, kind of science and physics does kind of theorize that with the Big Bang and all of that energy and matter exploding outwards, that it is somewhat part of a cycle. They believe that one day there will be a total death of the universe where everything has exhausted all energy and nothing remains except carbon. And all of these things will eventually collapse in on itself, and thus you will end up with a rebirth and a reignition of another universe.
Yeah. I mean, that could be quite something. But also, like the Big Bang, you got to think what caused the Big Bang. Like everything starts with a thought, right? Everything. Every single thing starts with a thought. Nothing exists that you see today that didn't start off in someone's head. In terms of like man-made stuff, right? Why is the universe any different? Where this big, powerful, divine consciousness thought, I know, let's create a load of planets. Bang, there they are. Right, cool, done that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, it's no, absolutely not. But it goes into the thought experiment of Schrodinger's cat as well, which I said to you the other day.
Yeah, I mean, but when it comes to how the universe started, that's like really not very. It's not really that relevant to what I've experienced with the ayahuasca. What the ayahuasca showed me was all knowing. It will always be like this, and it's like it's not even real. we're just light beings. I mean, I was meditating the other day, right, balancing my chakras, and you've seen the picture. I mean, it really worked. They're not normally like that in line. And I got a real vibe, man, that we're just fucking light beams from the sun, right? And that there's probably nothing on this planet. We look into space, right? And we look at other planets and go, nah, it's uninhabited, right? Well, what if, like, we can see what we are here because of the light spectrum, which is why the chakras are the colors that they are, which is our light spectrum. Well, if there's a different spectrum on different planets that we can't even see, we might not even know, because we're just energy. Everything is energy. Einstein said everything is energy. That's it. And energy doesn't die. It just changes form. So this whole thing of, well, the universe might collapse in on itself, but the energy has to go somewhere. So yes, like you say, rebirth. And that is what happens. When we die,
essentially,
we just
that's
come
the
back
idea.
again.
Yeah, I mean, that's essentially, at the end of the day, when the universe eventually does fall back in itself, it causes a singularity, and then boom, it restarts again. So therefore comes the question: how many times does that happen before? What happened before that, and so on and so forth. They're all existential questions that are not necessarily answered. There is theories, but
how's that for a word, though, mate? Singularity, yeah. How's that for a fucking word? Because if they ever wanted, like, kind of evidence that we are all just one thing, singularity really does kind of sum that up.
Yeah, it does a little bit. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to open the floor to Fizz and Priest to chuck the questions out there and put their points across. I'm sure they've got some questions. Fizz, do you want to get started there, or Priest? Whichever one.
I've got to know, because I got into yoga in the pandemic, and that exposed me to the chakras, and I'm a believer. So what does your daily, weekly, monthly maintenance look like on your chakras? How do you tell that one of them's out of line, and then how do you know what to do? Because when I was getting into it, you could spend 5 hours a day listening to the right frequency with the right,
yeah. So I'm with you. Oh, we lost you, Fizz. Did we lose Fizz? Or
we lost Fizz. He'll rejoin in a second. Whilst we're waiting for him to come back, I don't know if Priest or Rugless have a question for you. I know Rugless asked in the Discord, stupid joke question: how much stuff can you fit in the garage?
Yeah, well, actually, that's a very good question. Actually,
you're still working on it.
Let me. I was going to reply to Fizz first, but I'll answer that question first. Yeah. So why is it? Fizz is back, so I'll reply to Fizz very quickly. Then I will explain the garage, because it does make a lot of sense. Like daily maintenance, right? So I was doing like these other meditations. Well, first of all, the camera that I've got to measure my chakras. I came across that because the imagery of the chakras being shown was in the book Becoming Supernatural. So I found out what camera it was, and I bought the camera. Then I found myself doing a double degree at university with the creator of the BioWell camera that I had purchased. And it's a GDV camera, a gas discharge visualization camera, right? What it does is it reads the meridians on your fingers, stitches them together to give you a biofield, and from that it also uses that information to try and to calibrate where your chakras are at and all that sort of stuff. It's a very, very, bearing in mind I'm doing a double degree, and I just tried to explain it in one sentence. So that's what essentially that's what it does. It takes photos of the light that emitted from your fingers when a small electrical pulse goes into it, and then it uses the Chinese meridian system to determine any health issues, etc. So I was listening to these Joe Dispenza meditations, right? And I was straight afterwards, I was scanning my fingers, mate, my chakras all over the place. And I was like, fuck, wasn't working. I was getting quite annoyed with myself. And so my routine has evolved. So we have a yoga instructor that comes to the house 3 times a week. And there's a group of us that come here. We've got people helping us build this kind of retreat, which goes into all the shit behind me. And I'll explain that as well. But yeah, so my daily routine, I now do self-guided meditations. I don't listen to Joe anymore. I do sometimes because I miss listening to him. But I found that the way to balance your chakras is it's through awareness. Because when you strip down what we are, what it all boils down to is we're just awareness. Because I can tell you for a fact that I left my body behind and I was somewhere else once, and I was still me, right? So what the fuck was I? Because I didn't have a body. Yeah, I was just awareness, right? So that's all we are. We're just awareness. So you need to become aware then of your chakras, and you need to really kind of you need to look after them, right? So I do a very simple breathing meditation where you do 5 seconds in through your nose. And as you're doing that, just imagine that you're bringing in the ether energy from the life energy through your nose, it straight into the location of your root chakra. And then you breathe in 5 seconds, hold for 1 second, just say thank you. I call it gratitude breath. And you just hold that for 1 second, and then you breathe out, and you're breathing out all the energy that served its purpose that you no longer need, getting rid of all that dormant energy. And you repeat that circular breathing of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 through the nose, hold it, say thank you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 out the nose, hold, say thank you. And you do that in and out of each chakra. And you do it about 20 times per chakra. So you start off with the root chakra, you do that slow breath. You've got to be slow tempo because it's all about slowing down. Slow and deep breaths. Deep breaths, deep thoughts. Shallow breath, shallow thoughts.
Now, how are you sitting when you do this? Are you standing up? Do you have a meditation pillow? Where are you when you're doing this, I guess, 140 breaths?
Yeah, so you can lie down or you can sit up. I sit in lotus pose sometimes, but you can do it lying down. If you're doing self-guided, lying down's okay. If you're listening to a guided meditation, lying down's pretty shit because sometimes you fall asleep in the meditation and you don't realize. Yeah. But for breath work, you absolutely have to sit upright. When you're drawing that energy from up through your, from the base of your spine all the way up to the back of your brain. When you're doing that, you have to be in alignment with the universal sun. You just have to. But then after that, you can lie down. I find that you balance the chakra, so you just become aware of it. You start breathing into it. You imagine it growing. Then you imagine the next one. Then you imagine the next one linking to all of them until you get all the way up to the 7th chakra, or the 8th chakra, which is about 18 centimeters above you, the seat of the soul. And then at this point, when you're breathing, you're kind of imagining this light traffic going in through the crown of your head, all the way through your body, and it's lining up all the chakras as it goes down, and it's lining them up as it comes out. A half an hour meditation doing that, and then you get your biowell out, and your chakras are bang in line. It is phenomenal. And there's something about when you're doing it yourself, self-guided, you shouldn't just you don't want to become Joe's disciple. You don't want to. If you watch Joe Dispenza or listen to Joe Dispenza, the man is very, very clever. He's done a lot of great stuff, but don't make him Jesus. Yeah, you can't put him up on the pedestal. He's just showing you what to do. You then have to start learning how to do it yourself. So I have morning meditation, 1 hour, 1 hour of yoga. And then obviously I don't eat, one meditation at night, and about an hour of mind movies, which is usually 5 mind movies on repeat. And because you've got 8 minutes of Kaleidoscope plus 4 minutes of video, then you watch another 4 minutes of Kaleidoscope. So you've got 8 and 8, you've got 16 minutes per video, watch 5 of those. That's 80 minutes of mind movies as positive brainwashing. And that was my daily maintenance. Now you might be thinking, well, hold on a minute, that's an hour of mind movies, an hour in the morning of yoga, an hour of meditation, an hour in the evening. How am I going to find 4 hours? Yeah. And a lot of people I say, I just don't have the time for that. You find the time. You find the time when you see the benefit. I mean, I could never go back to how I was because, for example, we just had a big party here, right? It's my 10th wedding anniversary. There were like 150 guests. And we filled the ice cream the freezer full up with ice cream, right? And I used to be a right monster for it. And just by eating a few bits of ice cream that are full of these ultra high processed sugars, which causes the pituitary gland, just so you know, to produce cortisol instead of oxytocin, which keeps you in like a stress state. That's left me rattled. So I've gone straight back into my full routine, and within a day, I feel better. It's so important. But yoga, man, I've just started getting into yoga, and it's so cool. It really is.
It's been a lot for me. I mean, in my life, I mean, I was probably, if there was like an award I could have won in high school that's like least likely to do yoga, then I would have won that. So I had my doctor tell me that I needed to find a way to get the stress out of my life, and the 200-hour yoga study that I did had a brief part on chakras. You know, it didn't really go into it in much depth, but it was enough for me that I believed in it, but I just didn't know where to start. So how can we get our hands on one of these cameras or scanners, or if you can't afford a camera or scanner, I've heard of people using not medallions, but
pendulums.
Yeah, pendulums. I've heard of.
Yeah, so you can go to bio-well.com in America. So it's bio-well.com or hash. Says not hash. Yeah, bio-well.com. That's where you buy the BioWell, the camera. It's about $2,500. Then it's about another $2,500 for the training on how to use it. Like I said, I'm doing a degree for this. But if you go to their website, there are BioWell practitioners that are listed on a map. So you can actually go and meet somebody local. You'll find somebody local that will do it. So look for a BioWell. So that's what you're going to look for. But also just, you don't really need to see the evidence, right? So I've spent a fortune I've got brain scanners, I've got a heart scanner, the heart math scanner, which you clip to your ear that monitors your heart pulse so you know when your heart's in a coherent state. I hardly use any of it, right? I use the BioWell a lot. But it's got to the point now where, I only go and use it when I know I'm fucking in line. It's very cool. I think they should be in every household, as does the owner of the company, Konstantin Korotkov, who is quite possibly, one of the most amazing people I've had the pleasure of communicating with. But yeah, I mean, like, you're just talking about yoga releasing stress. It's really, really simple, man. It's really fucking simple. It's all about internal energy flow, right? It's all about internal energy flow, because we've never been taught this in school, right? Because we've all had a really shitty education, all of us. We're all victims, quite literally. The entire planet are victims of very, very poor education. Our education centers around the nuts and bolts of things, like, treating the symptom, not the cause, in medicine and all that sort of stuff. We see the mechanics of something, but not the true why. Why does that work? And we were not taught anything about our chakras, because you couldn't view them until recently. In fact, the WHO only acknowledged in 2018 that blocked energy centers could be not a, but the leading cause of all terminal disease. All of it.
There is a lot of things to unpack, and there's been a lot of things discussed, and I know that you could obviously talk for weeks about all of this stuff, and it is absolutely fascinating. Thanks a lot.
I've got a week, mate. It's fun.
Thanks for sharing everything. I'm just aware we've got about 20 minutes before we kind of start closing things down. Priest,
could I quickly explain the garage?
Yeah.
Somebody asked. Who asked the question? Who asked the question?
It was Sir Ruggles. He's at work at the moment, so he can't use voice. But yeah.
Okay. So let me just explain why there's a load of shit in my garage just very quickly. So after everything that's happened, right, I got a calling to install solar on my land. I've got a 3 acre farm. I had a 1 acre farm, and now I've got a 3 acre farm because I bought the neighbour's farm. That's another thing that happened since meditating. So what you're seeing over there is all like. That's all the solar inverters and all of that sort of stuff. We've got so we're building essentially this retreat, and we're just running out of space because we're doing loads and loads of building. But I'm being guided, and I couldn't tell you why. I mean, I've spent $15,000 on a fucking well being dug, 116 meter well, so I can get my own water out the ground, right? And the pump and everything. So we've got all the pump boxes as well here. Now, I couldn't tell you why. What is driving me to do it, but I watched a clip this morning of David Icke on London Real, and he was talking about the farmers in Holland who are currently being told to destroy their crops, and he says it's because Holland is the largest food exporter in Europe, and when food is abundant, you have no control, but when food is scarce, food and water is scarce, you have control over that populace. And I watched that video this morning, and I sent it to my wife and went, see, I knew we were doing the right thing, because we've gone and got our own energy, we've grown our own food, and we've got our own water. And this journey started in February, months before the energy crisis really kicked off. So, yeah, anyway.
I think a lot of people, regardless of where they might come from, where they might believe, totally agree with that. In terms of taking control of your own water supply, food supply, and just building something that you can work with, you can live off without having to have any outside necessities, I think is absolutely crucial. And I think it's something that we potentially all want, to be perfectly honest with you. I don't think anybody wants to be tied to the shit that we can buy at the supermarket, having to pay exorbitant fees to use electricity and everything else. It's so yeah, no, fair play to you, man. And it's I can see it personally coming together, and everything that you guys are doing it just looks amazing. And it's all started with a single thought, and that's the amazing thing to watch.
Yeah, and you touched on something there, and I'm sorry, I know we've been going for a while now, and you haven't got long left, but you touched on the supermarket thing. There was a conspiracy theory in COVID that did open up my eyes, actually. One, and you could back it up, and it's if you go to Yahoo Finance and you look at the stock holdings of companies like BlackRock and Vanguard, and who obviously hold, massive amounts of stock in Pfizer and Moderna during the pandemic. And as you know, Andy, we recently lost our Supersol supermarkets and they're replaced by Carrefour, right? And then I looked up Carrefour on Yahoo Finance, and I couldn't believe who owned the supermarkets. The same people that were injecting us with this God knows fucking what vaccine from military tents around the world. The very same people have now taken control of our food supply in our local little town. And it was that moment where I was like, we shouldn't be buying food from here. We shouldn't be buying food in boxes. We shouldn't be buying food with all this packaging, because all the packaging, when you know how plastic is made. I didn't know how plastic was made, right? My grandfather and my uncle both had plastic extrusion factories. I still didn't know how it was made. I didn't know it was basically diesel, right? So we've got all the fucking plastic that's wrapped in all the food. Okay, well, who are the supermarkets supporting there? Where are getting their plastic from? You've got to get it from the oil industry, right? Okay, and then you've got all the E numbers. What is that doing? It's making people sick. Who's that feeding? That's feeding Big Pharma. And that's just two things, right? We need to stop going to supermarkets. We're killing ourselves through convenience, and it's really difficult to do. I catch myself in supermarkets, so I'm not fucking perfect. I still drive a fucking several cars. I'm not really there yet. I'm just started my journey. I'm literally only 9 months in. Sugar in the chat here, it says sugar is one of the biggest drugs. Ultra high processed sugar is the biggest problem.
This is the thing. I mean, it's like Coca-Cola used to have natural cane sugar in it, but it was too expensive for them to continue with that, so they had to use the high processed sugars and things like that. But naturally grown cane sugar yes, Priest, it also contained cocaine. Let's not talk about that too much. But obviously 7-Up, they said it was great to give to your baby, contained cocaine. So all of these things. There was a lot of bad things, but it's like natural cane sugar, in small,
delayed response to your joke.
In small dose. It wasn't a joke. it was the truth. But natural cane sugar, in small doses, like anything else, can be good for you. Your body still needs sugars. Your body still needs, carbohydrates, fats, and these things. But it's where we get them from that is the critical thing.
I think a really, really, really important thing to do is actually get away from all sugar, because we get it naturally in the form of fructose when we eat fruit. But
absolutely,
honey is local honey. Replace your sugar with local honey. If you like something sweet, local honey, because local honey uses all of the nectar from local plant. The bees take it from stuff that is literally fucking around you, right, and then creates this syrup that will fucking heal you. So you get to have your sweet cup of coffee, your sweet cup of tea. You have to get used to that slight adjustment, that slight different flavor, because honey is good for you. It's all, cane sugar may be good for you, but honey heals. So we need to start, and like thistles, right?
Well, it's very well known for a very long time that honey has antiseptic properties as well, and it's so. I mean, you heard it here, folks. Chicken period and bee vomit is what you need to be living on.
For sure. And look, I read something the other day about milk thistle, right? Because thistles are fucking horrible things, right? And I've got a load in my back garden. It turns out, right, that the seeds from milk thistles, right, they actually can repair your liver completely if you take it regularly for a few months. Completely. Brand new liver. Right? Brand new liver, brand new feeling. Feel amazing, right? You can also do it with the power of thought, but if you want to do it with something that's physical because you're struggling to get the thought there, thistles, right? So I look it up, right? And I couldn't believe what I was reading. And the fact that the government have classified it as a weed because it self-seeds. No one's gone, why does it self-seed? It self-seeds because we need it. We're the ones growing it, right? It's not the earth. It's us, right? People don't understand this, right? Because we're all everything. We're all everything, right? But we're the ones that are growing it. So that's why we see dandelions growing everywhere. That's why we see thistles growing everywhere. And this classification as weeds is so wrong. If it wasn't supposed to be there, it wouldn't be there.
We could go on, to a really, really long conversation about how things like Roundup Weed Killer are owned by certain conglomerates.
Monsanto.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We
and
could.
they have the fucking patent on the drug that it's taken from dandelions.
Exactly. I mean, dandelions are actually amazing for the body as well. If you know about that. And one thing I love is herbal medicine and things like that. It's like not a lot of people realize that aspirin comes from the bark of a willow tree and things like that. So there's so many different things. Heart medicine is made from Digitalis purpurea, which is foxgloves, which it's a beta blocker essentially, and it's very, very good heart medicine in the right dosage, of course.
Since you're showing that you know the real names of things, do you know the real name of a milk thistle?
I don't actually know.
You're not going to believe it. It's called a silly bum.
No way.
Google it.
Silly bum. Brilliant. Love it. Priest, you've obviously been sat there patiently waiting for your turn. Do you have any questions, dude?
I don't think so, honestly. I mean, I'm going to be honest. I don't agree with a lot of things you said, Keith. And to be respectful, I think that the messages you're trying to get across are really good. So I don't think I want to attack your arguments in any way.
No.
I think that you've got to. Dude, you've talked for almost 2 hours, so I don't really have the ability to. I didn't write down notes. I would take care of my baby. But I do think the messages you're trying to get across. There's a lot of things that you said that I did agree with. There's just some of the ways that you believe those things. We come to the same conclusions differently in some ways, and I think that's interesting. But I think that your decisions to better yourself and how you've done that are your personal journey, and it's not my specific position to disagree with the things that you've experienced, right? I can't tell you I've taken ayahuasca. I can't tell you that I have experienced what you've experienced. I haven't. There are things that you said that related to when I tripped and took mushrooms in college. I think that the person I was before and afterwards changed. So I do think that there's some ways that we can relate there, but I just some of the things you said, I just don't believe in. And I don't think that, it's necessarily a negative thing. I just did want it to be an attack,
for sure.
right? I just
no, for sure.
We can both agree that it's really good for people to be a balanced person, right? I know before I tripped, I was not a good person. I think that experience for me was something that made me be a better person. And I don't agree with everyone the way you did it, but we find ourselves doing a lot of the similar things, making sure that what we do in our business and our life, make sure it fulfills both parts of the body and the mind and the soul, not both parts, but all those parts. So I appreciate other perspectives, and sometimes I don't have questions because it's I don't want to feel like an asshole. But I want to ask tough questions, but I didn't write anything down, and then I'm just going to speak off the top of my head. You know what I mean? So
yeah, well, if one comes, I would love to know what they are.
Oh, because, I will, dude. I'll put it
because you got to understand that I was the biggest cynic with this stuff just 9 months ago, massively. Do you know what I mean? It's the fact that I'm talking about stuff like this, and going public with it. I mean, I was worried about being ridiculed when I went back onto YouTube. I was they're all going to think I'm a complete cunt. They're going to think I've lost the plot. But I would love to know.
Case, so I think that your experience, right? I'm a firm believer of feelings are valid because I cannot feel your feelings, right? So I can't say that I specifically can relate to the fact that you're taken to a place multiple times that you've been before, right? And seen things while you were there under the influence that you missed prior, right? That type of introspective experience regarding ayahuasca is not something I've taken, but I can relate to that part. There are definite things that I looked in the mirror when I tripped balls, dude. And that was the biggest thing for me that made me look introspectively. And I don't think that, I believe that modern medicine comes from things that we learned from what is now considered alternative medicine, right? There's a reason.
Well, modern medicine is the alternative. That's what we're lied to. It's all petroleum-based medicine. The reason that pills are white is it's made the same way that cocaine is made. It's petroleum-based medicine. It's poison.
Well,
and it treats the symptom, it treats the symptom, not the problem. So like
my surgically repaired left bicep would not be fixed by alternative
medicine.
No.
I said very, very clearly at the beginning of this stream.
No, I understand.
I said surgeons are needed. Because we're humans, we're stupid. We do stupid shit, right? Like I cut my little finger off, and I it's a bit bent, but I owe a surgeon for getting my tendons and my nerve out of my elbow. So I'm not gonna criticize surgeons.
I actually know that. So I have a question. Did you end up having that test where they test your nerve sensitivity throughout your body, where they inject you with little needles and then electrify you?
Holy shit, that sounds very traumatic. I feel
it was awful. I literally like cried on the way home. My wife was like, "What happened?" Yeah, though they thought there was an issue with my nerves. So like, that's what I mean. Like, I understand that there's the mental aspect of recovery that people generally overlook, right? Because even sufferers of people who went through COVID, like people who went through long COVID, like they're physically fine, but they're mentally not there yet, right?
Don't forget that if you subscribe to the theory that I was talking about, which maybe you don't, but when you understand, you must read the book. You must read Becoming Supernatural, because there's a point in that book around about page 185 where you would imagine this book was written during or after COVID, and it was written before it, but 7 years before it. And the observation was that if you convince somebody that they might be sick, a large number of those people will become sick. Giving,
as somebody who had COVID twice, I can tell you,
think ourselves sick.
I mean, mass hysteria is a real.
My fundamental disagreement happens, and I think that respectfully, I'm going to decline to continue. But I appreciate your perspective, and I think that positive affirmations are great. But on your COVID specific conversation, this is where I need to exit the conversation myself. Thank you.
No worries.
So I'll just stop that topic.
I mean, it was a 2-year brainwashing operation, man. So I get you. I totally get you
completely, and I appreciate your time.
Totally get you. If I believed all that stuff, that I believed all the conspiracy stuff, man. I believe that was real. Do you know what I mean? But the illusion here was that the government was right and the conspiracy theories were wrong. That was the illusion that was there, that there was only two options, and that was actually, turns out there was a completely different option. Then none of it's real.
It's an interesting thing. I mean, mass hysteria is a very known psychological condition. If there is enough people with, and some of these people can have obviously real symptoms and things like that. Some people can be sensitive enough to, have those symptoms of themselves. I mean, I'm of the opinion, of course, that I've tested positive and had symptoms myself. Other people, this is the thing, is difference of opinion. Whether you like it or not, people are going to have difference of opinion. I know what I know is true and fact, and you know what you know is true and fact. And this is the thing. This goes back to what Priest was saying about, not being able to connect necessarily with your emotions and what you experience. That's something that we haven't experienced.
Yeah, well, we all experience our own personal reality. And the thing is, we are the creators of our own universe. And I think that's the message here. It's not like the us and them. It's like, we have created this universe. We've created everything around us, everything, good and bad, and when you understand this or experience it, when something happens, when you're lucky enough to experience it like I did, the message that I got was that you have to forgive fucking everybody, man. Like I had a lot of hate and resentment towards Anthony Fauci and like all these like characters that were just seemingly oppressing us during like the pandemic and stuff. And I was holding a lot of anger, and I was making myself very, very sick with it, as Andy will attest to, because you saw the emotional states I got into. But then when I realized that, well, he's just me, he's just another subset of my overall global consciousness. Yeah, just forgive these guys and get on with my shit. And it just that changed the dynamic to my world hugely.
Having kind of gone down the rabbit hole that you've gone down, what's one thing that you're actually surprised that you believe?
Right. So, I mean, this is a tricky one, because I don't really believe anything. All I know is that my reality now has changed dramatically. To the point that I'm literally a different person. There are still parts of the old guy, but like I'm just not the same guy. I'm just not. So to me, that says that, well, the power of the mind can alter reality, because it has. It's not up for debate. It has. But I don't really believe anything that I see, read, or anything, because when you have such an amazing experience like that, and bearing in mind that, like, it's a very fine line between calling it tripping and having a mystical experience, right? Because I've done psychedelics all my life. You know what I mean? Nothing is like what happened here. But I would say that I only believe the things that are relevant to me. There's no purpose for other people's little realities. There's 8 billion of us, right, on this planet. Yeah, that's a lot of realities, right? That's a lot of different perspectives, a lot of different realities to keep on top of. Why would I want any of those in my head? Because my job here is to experience reality and to create the universe as I experience it. So with that in mind, with what Priest said, is like, there's absolutely nothing wrong with what he was saying, because that's his reality. He constructs his reality from what he believes. There is nothing wrong with that at all. But I mean, like, if you think that this is it, like what we normally see is it, and that the world is right, and that the power structure in the world is for our own good, then you really need to kind of evaluate that. And I would suggest, because we are being controlled. It's like a magician, right? Imagine a magician. You know what magicians do? They go, look over here, and I'll go and do this, right? Mm-hmm. So you don't know how, like, distraction works with magic, no?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. So think about this, right? We're all slaves, right? We're all slaves, right? We don't think we're slaves, right? Because we're told that, like, in the cotton fields, where African Americans were picking cotton, they on the plantations, they were the slaves, and we're taught it in school. This is what keeps racism alive. It's so bad, right? But we keep we're still taught this, right? This was what happened, and then we had, like, Abe Lincoln trying to, like, help her, and then all of a sudden they're equal, and blah blah blah, and it's like, oh, thank God we're not slaves. It's like, we're too busy looking over there that we miss the fact that we've been indoctrinated through school, and for the vast majority, some pretty. I'd say that my life wasn't that bad up until COVID, but at that point of COVID where you were just told, no, don't go out of the house, put that fucking mask on when you go to the supermarket. I'm like, hold on a minute. Nobody asked anybody for this. No one was held accountable for it. And then the distraction game started. Whilst it was still raging, the debate was still raging, they started talking about other stuff. So 1 minute we're supposed to blame China, then there's a fucking alleged war in Ukraine, and then there's going to be monkeypox, which just got laughed out the fucking gate. It's all that distraction and all of this stuff, all of it is just, it doesn't deserve any of your own personal headspace. And the act of meditation, which is what came to me after my experience, made me realize that all you should focus on in your life is what makes you happy. Every decision you're going to make in your life is based on love or fear. You get to choose how much is through love and how much is through fear. Yeah, and that's the take home here. That's the take home here. And supermarkets will kill you.
I think it's an important takeaway that it's okay to have opposing opinions. It's okay to have different thoughts and feelings. That's what makes us different. It makes us human. If everybody was on exactly the same wavelength all of the time, life would be very, very, very boring indeed. And everybody is entitled to have happiness from wherever they draw that from. As long as they're not encroaching on anybody else's life, of course. I don't necessarily believe a lot of the things that you've spoken about, of course. Maybe that opinion will change later down the line. Who knows? But it's at the end of the day. It's
funny though. It's a funny thing to say. So I don't believe that your experience happened. Like, I don't believe that what you're telling me happened to you happened. Just basically you're just calling me a liar.
No, I didn't say that.
All I've done today is just tell you what.
No. I didn't say that. I said I haven't felt your experience, so I don't know how that feels.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that it didn't happen. I'm not saying that you're lying about it at all, because it's just that those experiences can be very, very, very personal. And it's like, maybe if I end up taking ayahuasca myself, my experience will be completely different from yours, and I still haven't experienced what you experienced. because that is personal to you. But ultimately, a lot of these things, whatever you believe, will lead us to the same conclusion. Be good to each other, look after yourself. Meditation is an absolutely critical thing in modern day, I think, personally, whether you realize it or not, because a lot of people are so stressed out. Everybody, a lot of people are stuck in that 9 to 5. They don't know how to unwind, and all that kind of stuff. And that's something that can really rip you away from that and kind of center you better. And I think that's...
Well, just very quickly, sorry, said about the stress thing. That's things stressing you out, right? So, like, one of the things that I found fascinating was the function of the pituitary gland, which is like wedged kind of between your eyes, and its job is to regulate the production of oxytocin or cortisol. And it wasn't until I learned that ultra high processed sugars, an ingredient that is in every single boxed processed supermarket item, everything from cereal to even tinned peas, right, will have ultra high processed sugar in the brine, right? It's ridiculous, right? But when you have ultra high processed sugar, your pituitary gland automatically, due to the imbalance of like that, this feels nice, this experience of sweetness, due to that imbalance, you then start producing cortisol to balance you out. And it takes about 8 to 10 hours to settle down again. So most people don't go 8 to 10 hours between meals, right? So if you're eating breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and you're buying your food from production plants that put preservatives and ultra high processed sugars in them, which we come to know as just sugar, but white sugar is, just so you know, ultra high processed sugar by definition, and that keeps us in a stress state for the entire day, right? So we are susceptible to more stress based on that decision because our brain is actually producing the stress hormone. Yeah. So we're more susceptible to stressful situations as opposed to those situations actually stressing you out.
It's the thing is that bad.
No, that's like a medical fact. That's
it is. It's not
like airy fairy esoteric shit. That's a medical fact.
No, that's not opinion. That is absolutely fact. If you're not looking after your body and you're taking all of this other shit, then it's something. It can make you sluggish. It can
we overlook it.
But absolutely. I think more and more people are waking up to the fact that you need to have that vegetable in your diet. You need to have the fruit in your diet. More water is absolutely critical, which is something that everybody overlooks. There's so many people there. I'm guilty of it in the past as well, where all I drink all the time is like Coca-Cola and all of this other stuff, and then I sit there and wonder, why am I so sluggish? Why do I feel so shit? And it's like, well, the answer's obvious. It's right in front of you. And the thing is that I don't think a lot of people can deny that. I mean, do you still subscribe to the idea though that if the mood takes you, I want to have some ice cream, or I want to have maybe a glass of Coke. You can still have that as long as you're not overdoing it like anything else, right?
No. I need to cut it out. No. I'm really struggling, mate. No, I mean, like a few months ago when me, Jack, and Hootan were doing shrooms at mine, and I said, I'll bring a bottle of Coke Zero, and we're all tripping our nuts off, having a great time, right? And we're looking at this bottle of Coke on the table, and I took a sip, and I went, that tastes like shit. Does that taste like shit to you? And they all took a sip, and went, that tastes like shit. And we were looking at it, and we went, oh my God. It's literally a black liquid with a giant red warning label on it. That's the reality of what Coca-Cola is. Go and have a look at a bottle. Go and have a look at a bottle right now, and you'll just go, holy fucking shit. It is. It's a warning label, and it's a black liquid.
I actually remember. I actually remember my grandfather telling me he worked at one of the bottling plants for Coca-Cola, and I actually remember him telling me that when they brought
bottles don't come from plants, you liar.
They were delivering the raw ingredients as a syrup to the carbonation factory, whatever. And he said that it is practically explosive before they add the water and all of that sort of stuff. And it had to be packed. It had to be packed carefully because it was almost like nitroglycerin.
I mean, I think one thing that I'd like to just quickly add as well on the food thing. As you know, Andy, I didn't experience hunger for a very long time this year, and because of the wedding anniversary and like the ice cream full of freezer full of ice cream, I have been like sugar relapsing for the last 2 days, and I'm finding it hard to wean myself off of it. But what I've experienced when I first cleaned up my diet and then I was just eating food from the land and eggs, I noticed that I wasn't getting hunger pangs like I was anymore. And I don't know quite what it was. I think it could be that I wasn't feeding the candida in my gut because that feeds off sugar and yeast. Because we all have parasites in us. It's just because our bodies are like ecosystems, right? So here's a head trip for you. The fact that when you think you're hungry, huh? It's not you that's hungry. It's the fucking bacteria in your gut that's hungry, not you. And it sends a chemical signal to say, I'm hungry. Once you eradicate that through a clean diet and you don't experience the feeling of hunger anymore, it starts to really change how you see things, and it sends you on a very, very interesting journey. But without a dramatic change in diet habits, because for me, like I said earlier on in the stream, it was a pivotal moment. It was just one moment of going, holy shit, I've been choosing food based on how it tastes, not how it's going to make me feel. Like, just the minute that was in my radar, it was like, wow, 42 years, and I didn't know that. You know, and like, yeah. Like, it was really simple. Really simple.
Absolutely amazing. Like, we could talk for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks about this, but I do unfortunately need to wrap it up. I do apologize. But we always ask one question for everybody that comes on the show, if you can answer it, and that is, if you could compare yourself or anything else that you do to a fruit, what fruit would it be?
Ooh.
That's a tough one.
Yeah. Well, I've got a bent cock, so banana. But your sister likes it. Quite a few of your sisters do, actually. No. I don't know. Oh, a fruit. Where did this come from? Whose idea was this?
I believe.
That's a fizz question.
Yeah.
3 banana guys until now. Yeah. No, I don't know. The first thing that came to me was kiwi for some reason. But I don't know. I couldn't tell you why. But probably because they remind me of testicles, hairy testicles.
We had that answer for the very first time on the last show, kiwi. Interesting. So that because
in the field,
because they remind you of testicles, you say?
Yeah. Well, obviously, when I started eating eggs, and I was like, I want something else other than an egg, and I got a kiwi. I was like, oh, this also looks a bit like a testicle. I'll eat this too.
Fair enough.
I like balls in my mouth, as you know.
Did you know as well, by the way, that you don't need to take the skin off of them and just eat them as they are?
Yes, I am aware, but I like an animal. I cut them in half and get a teaspoon and eat them like a yogurt.
Well, I mean, we can't all be perfect like me, of course, you know. But it's been an absolute pleasure having you on, talking about your journey, very personal journey as well. You know, in the beginning, what you were talking about, you know, where you've come from addiction and everything else. Where'd you go? I think we lost you. Oh no, you're back. So you know, it's been very interesting, and there's a lot of information to that. Maybe we can get you back on again in the future, so we can elaborate on these things. Because I know you want to talk potentially about the one field as well. We've kind of run out of time today, unfortunately, because you don't shut the fuck up. It's all good. It's all good.
I warned you. Ask me. I warned you.
But no, we can get you back on in the future. That's not a problem. But no, thank you very much. And normally we ask people to give us a positive affirmation as well as we are leaving. So if you don't know one off the top of your head, if you can just kind of think of one, we'll start with Fizz. Maybe you want to put something out there.
Go love someone today.
You are an amazing, unlimited being.
I like that. Does anybody else have any? Priest, maybe you have a positive affirmation today?
I mean, just spend time with the people you love, right? That's the most important thing you can do. We talk about touching grass and trying to make sure that you, balance your life. And, that's it. Like, if you like fantasy stuff, House of the Dragon came out. If you like Game of Thrones type of things. And if you like Lord of the Rings of Power came out. So there's some other distractions you can go ahead and look at that there are books for. So you can read ahead of time and then, compare and contrast what your personal vision is to what they put on the screen. Other than that, just spend time with the fam.
Hey, Keith, where can people go to catch up with you?
YouTube.com/Keith's Crypto Trades. It's now called KCT Crypto because everyone was calling the group KCT Crypto.
If you search for Keith Waring on YouTube, you'll find him very easily, and you'll be able to find his links for Telegram and things like that. Very easy to find you. And if nobody's sure, come and ask me, and I'll give you the links as well. We'll put it in our Discord. Thanks again, Keith, for coming on and talking with us. Say goodbye, everybody. We're going to go.
Teach something new to your kids.
Nice one, guys. Yeah, absolute pleasure. Thanks for having me on, guys. All of you. Really was great. Thank you.
Cheers, dude. Catch you later.
Take it easy, man. Peace.